A picture is worth 1,000 words, they say. But what if those words told a story darker than anyone could imagine? Before we dive into this chilling true crime story, make sure to hit that subscribe button and turn on notifications. You wouldn't want to miss our weekly deep dives into mysteries like this one. Now let's get into it. On a crisp autumn morning in October, a hiker stumbled upon something buried in the woods outside of Lakewood, Colorado. It wasn't the picturesque foliage she'd set out to photograph. What she found instead would unravel a horrifying story of obsession, betrayal, and lives forever altered. Beneath a thin layer of dirt, she uncovered a weathered leather camera bag. Inside, the shocking contents would lead investigators down a chilling rabbit hole. Lakewood, Colorado, a picturesque town nestled in the foothills of the Rockies, was the kind of place where life moved at a comfortable pace. Its residents prided themselves on their close-knit community, where neighbors greeted one another by name, and everyone seemed to have a role in maintaining the town's harmony. From the local diner buzzing with cheerful chatter to the annual autumn festivals that painted the streets in vibrant hues, Lakewood felt like the last place where nightmares could take root. Among its residents was Elliot Grant, a man who, at first glance, seemed to epitomize the town's peaceful demeanor. Elliot, 39, had built a reputation as Lakewood's most talented photographer. His studio, Through the Lens, was tucked between a quaint bookstore and a bakery, always smelling faintly of fresh coffee and developing chemicals. His work adorned the walls of local businesses and homes, a testament to his ability to capture life's fleeting moments with uncanny precision. Elliot was a man of routine. He opened his studio at 9 a.m. sharp, greeting passers-by with a polite nod, though he rarely engaged in lengthy conversation. His neighbors described him as reserved but kind, often lending a hand with small tasks or donating his time to photograph community events. He was the kind of guy who'd take your family portrait for half the price if you told him money was tight, recalled one client. But beneath his unassuming demeanor lay a man whose fixation on his craft bordered on obsession. Elliot's subjects were more than clients, they were his muses. His portfolio boasted everything from glowing maternity shoots to hauntingly raw portraits of the elderly. Yet, his true passion was photographing the untamed wilderness surrounding Lakewood. He often ventured alone into the woods at odd hours, returning with breathtaking images of sun-dappled clearings or misty mountain trails. Locals admired his dedication, though some found his solitary nature unsettling. Elliot had this intensity about him, a former assistant noted. He didn't just take pictures. He studied you, like he was trying to capture something beyond what the eye could see. It was this intensity that drew the attention of Hannah Collins, a 24-year-old aspiring model with dreams as big as her personality. Hannah was the kind of person who could walk into a room and instantly become its center. Her blonde hair and wide smile turned heads, but it was her infectious energy that truly captivated those around her. She'd moved to Lakewood 2 years prior, chasing opportunities in Denver while working as a waitress to make ends meet. Her best friend and roommate, Jessie Martinez, had been her rock through the highs and lows of their shared ambitions. Jessie, 21, was Hannah's polar opposite in many ways. Where Hannah was bold and effervescent, Jessie was quiet and introspective. She had dark, thoughtful eyes that seemed to take in everything, a trait that made her a talented artist in her own right. Her sketchbooks were filled with designs she hoped would one day grace the pages of fashion magazines. Together, the two women balanced each other perfectly, Hannah pushing Jessie out of her shell, and Jessie keeping Hannah grounded. The pair often talked about making it big, laughing over late-night takeout and brainstorming ideas for their next big break. When they heard about Elliot Grant through a mutual friend, they saw it as an opportunity too good to pass up. Elliot's reputation as a photographer who could bring out the essence of his subjects intrigued them. "He's got this way of making everything look alive," Hannah had said, scrolling through his portfolio online. Jessie, ever cautious, hesitated at first but eventually agreed. "What's the worst that could happen?" she joked, unaware of how chillingly ironic her words would become. Their initial meeting with Elliot was unremarkable but memorable in its own way. The photographer was professional and soft-spoken, his quiet demeanor putting Jessie at ease while Hannah's charisma seemed to spark a rare smile from him. He discussed potential locations for the shoot with meticulous detail, suggesting a secluded area in the nearby woods that he claimed offered perfect natural lighting. Hannah was thrilled by the idea, eager to stand out with unique, ethereal photos. Jessie, however, couldn't shake a vague unease. "Are you sure it's safe out there?" she asked him, only half joking. Elliot assured her it was, his tone calm but firm. The day of the shoot, Hannah and Jessie left their apartment with an air of excitement, chatting animatedly about outfit choices and posing ideas. They stopped by the diner near their home for breakfast, where they were well-known regulars. The staff loved them. Hannah's bubbly personality brightened everyone's morning, while Jessie's kind smile left a lasting impression. The waitress, an older woman named Linda, teased them about their glamorous plans. "Don't forget us little people when you're famous," she said, laughing as she refilled their coffee cups. Hannah grinned. "You'll always get a shout-out, Linda. Promise." The two women were seen leaving the diner just after 10 a.m., their laughter lingering in the air as they walked to Hannah's car. It would be the last time anyone in Lakewood saw them alive. Hannah and Jessie's disappearance sent shockwaves through the Lakewood community. The two young women had been well-loved, and their absence was immediately noticed. When they didn't return home that evening or answer their phones, Jessie's sister grew concerned. By the next morning, both their families were frantically reaching out to friends, local businesses, and the police. It wasn't like them to just vanish, Jessie's sister Maria said in a tearful interview. They always checked in, even if it was just a quick text. The police launched a formal investigation within 24 hours. Detectives began by retracing the women's steps. Their abandoned car was discovered 2 days later near a trailhead on the outskirts of town. The vehicle was locked, with Hannah's purse still inside, but there were no other immediate clues. The trailhead led into a dense forest, Elliot Grant's suggested location for the photo shoot. As search teams scoured the area, the community rallied together to help. Flyers with Hannah and Jessie's photos were plastered on every available surface. Candlelight vigils were held nightly in the town square, with hundreds of residents attending to pray for the women's safe return. Social media exploded with posts under the hashtag #FindHannahAndJessie, drawing attention from across the country. "We won't rest until we bring them home," Mayor Angela Whitmore said during a press conference, her voice trembling with emotion. Elliot Grant quickly became a person of interest. After all, he'd been the last known person to see them alive. When detectives visited his studio to question him, Elliot appeared calm and cooperative. He explained that the photo shoot had gone smoothly and that the women had left around noon, mentioning they were headed to grab lunch. "They were laughing and joking," he said. "It was just like any other shoot. Nothing seemed off." Elliot even provided a detailed timeline of his day. He claimed that after finishing the shoot, he had driven to a nearby coffee shop to work on editing photos. He produced a receipt showing a purchase made at 12:45 p.m. and offered up his laptop, which contained files timestamped shortly after. "I was there the whole afternoon," he insisted. "You can ask the barista." Detectives did just that. The barista on duty vaguely recalled seeing Elliot that day but couldn't confirm how long he'd stayed. Surveillance footage from the coffee shop did show Elliot entering around 12:40 p.m., but there were no cameras inside to verify his presence for the remainder of the afternoon. While his alibi seemed plausible, it wasn't airtight. Meanwhile, the search in the forest continued. Volunteers and officers worked tirelessly, braving cold nights and uneven terrain in hopes of finding any trace of the missing women. Tensions in the community ran high. Parents kept their children close, and whispers of fear spread like wildfire. "If it could happen to them, it could happen to anyone," one resident remarked during a town hall meeting. The discovery of Hannah and Jessie's car only deepened the mystery. Forensic experts combed through the vehicle, finding no signs of a struggle. However, a faint muddy footprint on the driver's side floor mat suggested someone had entered the car after it was parked. Was it one of the women, or someone else entirely? The breakthrough came when a hiker stumbled upon a buried camera bag less than a mile from the trailhead. Inside were undeveloped film rolls, meticulously labeled with dates and initials, including HC and JM. Investigators immediately sent the film for processing, and what they found was chilling. The photographs started innocently enough. Hannah and Jessie posing among the trees, their faces lit with laughter. But as the sequence progressed, their smiles faded. The last few frames showed the women looking visibly distressed, their eyes wide with fear. The community was horrified as news of the discovery spread. As the investigation heated up, uncovering shocking twists and turns, the community was left on edge. And just like them, we're dedicated to uncovering the full story. If you're finding this story as gripping as we are, consider subscribing so you can join us for more in-depth true crime stories. Now, back to the case. Lakewood's idyllic image was shattered, replaced by an overwhelming sense of dread. People who had once trusted Elliot began to question everything. "We let him into our lives," said Karen Delaney, a mother whose family portraits Elliot had taken just months earlier. "Now I can't even look at those pictures without feeling sick." With the photos as evidence, detectives obtained a warrant to search Elliot's home and studio. What they found would turn the investigation on its head. As the evidence mounted, police shifted their focus entirely to Elliot Grant. The discovery of the camera bag was pivotal, but investigators knew they needed more to connect him directly to the crime. Here's how they approached the case step by step, with every move adding to the suspense. Seizing and searching Elliot's studio. Detectives obtained a warrant to search Elliot's studio. Inside, they uncovered an eerie collection of photographs spanning decades. Most were benign portraits of families and nature, but hidden in a locked drawer were candid, unsettling images of women who appeared unaware they were being photographed. Many of these women bore a striking resemblance to Hannah and Jessie. Further inspection revealed detailed notebooks in Elliot's handwriting, chronicling each photo shoot. The entries about Hannah and Jessie were particularly disturbing, describing them as perfect muses and mentioning unseen potential he wanted to capture. Uncovering Elliot's digital footprint. Investigators also delved into Elliot's digital life. His computer revealed searches for secluded locations near the trailhead and articles about controlling and manipulating subjects during photography. Even more damning were deleted files recovered by forensic analysts. These included blurred images of bound figures, though it wasn't clear if they were Hannah and Jessie. Re-interviewing the barista, detectives returned to the coffee shop where Elliot claimed to have spent his afternoon. The barista admitted she wasn't entirely certain of the timeline, but remembered Elliot behaving oddly. "He kept checking his watch and muttering to himself," she said. This inconsistency further weakened his alibi. Analyzing the camera bag and photos, the undeveloped film from the camera bag became crucial evidence. Investigators painstakingly analyzed every frame. Beyond the disturbing final photos of Hannah and Jessie, they discovered blurry shots of what appeared to be a shallow grave. Using landmarks from the images, search teams returned to the area and soon made a grim discovery. 2 shallow graves containing the remains of Hannah Collins and Jessie Martinez. Examining the crime scene, the burial site was meticulously analyzed. Forensic experts found fibers matching a blanket from Elliot's studio and traces of dirt identical to samples taken from his car tires. Nearby, investigators uncovered a broken lens cap with Elliot's fingerprints. Interviews with former clients. As news of Elliot's possible involvement spread, former clients began to come forward with unsettling stories. One woman recounted a shoot where Elliot insisted on taking her to a remote location and became agitated when she refused. Another described how he'd lingered at her home long after the session ended, asking invasive personal questions. The revelation of Elliot as the prime suspect rocked Lakewood to its core. People who had once considered him a friendly, if reserved, neighbor now viewed him as a monster hiding in plain sight. "It's like we never really knew him," said Tom Baker, a local business owner. The once bustling, Through the Lens studio became a crime scene, cordoned off with yellow tape. Residents avoided the area, unable to reconcile their memories of Elliot with the horrific accusations. Parents warned their children to stay away, and conversations in coffee shops and grocery store lines turned into hushed whispers about the photographer. Despite the growing fear, the community remained united in its demand for justice. "We owe it to Hannah and Jessie to see this through," Mayor Whitmore declared during a town hall meeting, her voice cracking with emotion. Confronted with the mounting evidence, Elliot maintained his innocence during questioning. He claimed the camera bag had been stolen from his studio and that someone was framing him. "I'm being set up," he told detectives, his usually calm demeanor giving way to visible agitation. However, when pressed about the timeline of the photo shoot, Elliot faltered. His story began to change and small details no longer added up. He couldn't explain the fibers from his studio or the dirt on his tires. "I go to the woods often," he said defensively. "It's my favorite spot to think." The breakthrough came when detectives discovered a hidden compartment in Elliot's car. Inside were additional undeveloped film rolls, a muddy shovel, and a pair of gloves stained with what appeared to be blood. Forensic tests later confirmed the blood belonged to Hannah and Jessie. Despite the overwhelming evidence, Elliot's trial introduced an unexpected twist. His defense team argued that the police had mishandled the investigation, claiming key evidence could have been planted. They pointed to the lack of clear motive and argued that Elliot's calm cooperation was inconsistent with someone guilty of such heinous crimes. The prosecution countered by presenting the recovered photographs, forensic evidence, and testimony from former clients. They painted a chilling picture of a man who used his profession to lure unsuspecting women into dangerous situations. The most damning piece of evidence came from the final roll of film. It contained a time-stamped image of Elliot standing over a freshly dug grave, his shadow stretching ominously across the frame. Experts confirmed it had been taken with a timer on his camera, leaving no doubt about his involvement. Elliot Grant was found guilty on all counts and sentenced to life without parole. His conviction brought some solace to the families of Hannah and Jessie, though the scars of their loss would never fully heal. The case left a lasting impact on Lakewood. Residents became more cautious, and trust in the once close-knit community was forever shaken. "We always thought something like this couldn't happen here," said Maria Martinez. "Now we know better." For the families of the victims, the only comfort was the legacy Hannah and Jessie left behind. "They were more than their dreams," Hannah's mother said at a memorial service. "They were loved, and they will never be forgotten." As for Elliot's haunting photographs, they remain locked away, a chilling reminder of the darkness that can hide behind even the most unassuming faces. A picture may be worth 1,000 words, but some stories are better left untold. Elliot Grant's story serves as a chilling reminder of how danger can lurk in the most unsuspecting places. If you want to hear more stories like this and stay up to date on our latest investigations, don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. Your support helps us continue to bring these stories to light. Until next time, stay safe.